What up, traders? What up, investors? Today we're going to be doing a little bit different. We're not going to be looking at any particular chart or particular stock as of right now. We're just going to be doing like a somewhat of a basic overlay on the charts that I use within my Thinkorswim. And as well, if you do use Thinkorswim, I will share the a direct link from the Thinkorswim account with a little link that you're able to download this as well. Sorry, I totally forgot on how to show you and how you add the shared link tab into your trading table here and looking at that. So let's go ahead and just jump into that real fast. So once you get the Ken shared basic charts here, you just basically take this link here from this very top up here. And what you're going to be going to is to the main panel. You're going to hit this little setup tool up here, this little gear icon, and then you're going to hit open shared item, the second from the top, and you're just going to copy and paste that in there. It's going to preview, and then bada bing, bada bang. And you can click on that and then import that chart from there. So truly apologize. Thank you guys for watching, and let's get it back to this beautiful video with the handsome Ken. Let's go. Down in the description below, and as well there's also a couple links there for some Amazon storefront to look at some books that I could be recommending, and I'm always adding to that. I'm going to break those categories out to technical trading, to just overall investing knowledge, down to other myriad of different various things. But that being said, let's just go and kind of go and jump into things here. This is basically the most I want to say basic a lot, but the most dumbed down form of how I use my charts here. Again, I use Thinkorswim for charting, and then I use Tastyworks for execution of my stocks and my options. That being said, a lot of you folks have asked for somewhat of a deeper dive into the charts, the platform of Thinkorswim, and other various components like that. Again, the link will be down in the description below to see. I just nailed my desk with my chair here. Let me move up my desk there a little bit. There we go. So that being said, let's kind of just jump into it. What we're going to do is we're just going to remove everything, and then we're going to slowly build upon of it. Okay. So let's do a little quick wipey wipe, and then we'll be right back with a nice clean chart. And we're back. Now we're looking at basically the basic form of the S&P 500 chart that we just previously looked at with some of the technical tools, and then also some of the moving averages and other various components that I use on my charts. So we're just going to do a quick little deep dive. If you look down here on like the left-hand side, you have the different watch lists, the account information. You can actually create these to do almost anything. So when you're in the watch list tab, you can minimize those, but if you hit the three little arrows to show actions, I can switch the gadget to all these different kind of things. I can change it to a sketch pad. I can play Tetris while I trade. That's fantastic. Level 2 stuff, other dashboard stuff, calendars, Minesweeper, you know, all the fun stuff there. Use the news, Trader TV, messaging, market, all this stuff. You can just go into depth. Most of them, I always just use the watch list and maybe use a particular chart sometimes that maybe if I'm really interested, if I'm looking at the market's going down substantially or going up, there's a key chart that I want to sometimes focus on. So that's the basics of this. And then, of course, you can add these watch lists at ease. As you can see, over the years, I've added quite a few personal watch lists and scans to this. That's going to be like a second part video that we'll be talking about and getting into building scans that I would run on a daily basis, after the close basis. Maybe I run it periodically through the day kind of situation to kind of look for potential stocks that could be meeting my criteria. And as well, they do have a multitude of public ones. You can see here they have a gap up, market movers, market making move stocks. Say that 10 times twice. And of course, you see a lot of the ones that really move pretty substantially today, everything from PDD and JD. We're actually going to be doing a JD video tonight, kind of looking at that, potentially giving a big old slap to Alibaba, and JD being the #1 king of China for that kind of e-commerce. But anyways, That's basically the basics of that. And then within the, if you do have a personal list, like I have a short ideas, I don't short anything, much of anything. You can create, you can of course create a brand new list, which allows you to import like a data dump from an Excel file or just copy and paste. But when you copy and paste something, you have to make sure its spacing is properly in the commas. That's being said, and you can just add whatever else. So I'm just going to put in like Zoom. And then when I hit that, oops, I didn't hit save, did I? Whoopsies. See, look at that. I even know what I'm doing. I want to edit, add symbol, ZM. There we go. Save. So now it's added there. And the way, let's say I wanted to, so when I click on this chart here, the stock automatically pings over here. So if you see on the very like the left hand side, still on the very top right, you have that red symbol. You can change it to a unlink. So if I unlink this and then I switch to Chegg or another like Square, that stock's not linked. It's not linked to this watch list because it is, you see the watch list is set to 1. If I set it to 1, I have it set to 1, and I set this to 1, that will create that link, and then you're able to, this is how I'm able to like just scan through multiple stocks of just hitting the down arrow on the chart. So you can kind of just peruse through really stocks pretty fast on that method. So you can always unlink it. Of course, I just clicked on the zoom, and that has been kind of somewhat building a somewhat downward pattern that we're seeing here. But anyways, with that, that's basically the extent of the knowledge and what I use for those. And I also, at a deeper video, we can do custom scripts within these and create some tools to look out for alerts as well. But that's a little bit more the advanced side of things. We're going to be kind of doing the more of a basic, again, using that word again, setup here. So basically moving from that, you have your upward tab up here. The tabs that I use the most is just going to be literally the charts. I don't trade on Thinkorswim. I use Tastyworks again. Affiliate link down below for Tastyworks if you're interested on opening an account. And then I use the scan tab, and I do hit the trade tab. I should take that back to look at the options, not just anything else. The options market really helps, and I always look at the time and sales of things and so forth. With that being said, that's basically the extent of that. I think a lot of people here are just really for the charts and really kind of breaking through that. So with that being said, without going to crazy depth, we can just literally just start going into adding studies. And another question that I get quite often is something like, hey, Ken, how are you able to tab between things very fast? So instead of saving the chart setup as just like a standard study, I actually save it as a grid. So this little grid pattern up here. So if I wanted to create a chart, basically a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 by 4, that's going to be creating all these charts. Like, look at that. That's insane, right? Of course, they're all blank, but I can make a crazy amplitude of charts going from that level. So let's just say I just wanted to create like 3 charts. And of course, I can link these to 1 as well. So that's going to be allowing me to push those across. But again, I can change these to different time frames. You see that my default charts are showing up on this, not the clean one that we're looking at. So, and that, well, so once you hit, then you're like, hey, Ken, how do I make these charts large? You just go into the chart you want to see and you hit maximize cell. And then with the left and right arrow, you're able to go up here and go left and right from here. So you're able just to switch between the charts from that little ability there. So going back to 1, what we're going to be sharing here is looking at the studies here. With this being said, some other dimensions that I want to kind of pinpoint out, which a lot of folks ask, is also by default, you see the volume bars down here. If you want to turn that overlay off, you can click this right here and we'll hit apply, and then you see the volume bar as a separate sub tab down below. You're able to toggle that on and on by hitting this little extension button display on the styles tab. So if I hit apply, that bada boom, and then I hit on style, bada bing, bada bang, I can turn it off on the fly pretty fast. I also do the same thing with corporate actions and earnings, and of course extended hour trading, but that only comes in when you start looking at a smaller time frame. So looking with this as well, that's basically the extent of that. And then looking at the time axis, another thing that people ask on, how do I add bars to kind of not completely fill out the chart? So as of right now, I think standard, it comes like this, so it completely fits the chart. I like to add like 20 to 25 to kind of do, instead of just having everything just smushed to the right side of my screen, I kind of have somewhat of the chart in the center of my peripherals and seeing the chart set up like this. So that's going to be one of the key, like most of it's basic in the sense of just default settings, and those are just some things that I have changed and really enjoy that has helped me. Again, I stare at these charts quite a bit a lot of times, so I kind of want to make it somewhat of my preferences. With that being said, of course, you can go into and change the different styles, the different time frames that you want to be looking at. The appearance, some people like the white background, some people don't like the cross, they want the vertical line, blah, 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 blah. And of course, once they have this little tab, you can always just change it on the fly, and as well down there. And then you kind of go into some standard stuff for the equities, futures, and stuff like that if you're going to be trading from this platform. So that's going to be coming down to that. And then we have the fantastic the chart where a lot of people have asked about is the studies. Like, what studies do I use? How do I add them? What's an EMA? Why are you using EMA over SMA? Things like that. With that being said, this once you get into the editing studies and strategies, you will find a boatload of stuff. Everything from preset stuff to all other kinds of crazy stuff that Thinkorswim has licenses to, that they are looking at, and so forth. So this, again, there's a lot of stuff within this list to kind of go through and really breaking down what really you want to do. You can kind of see some of the study sets that I have here that I enjoy. So, that's a lot, right? So basically, we're just going to be going with the very simple moving average. So we're going to go to moving, AVG, and I use the exponential. So I'm going to do that. So I use quite a few of these. So what I do is I use the Fibonacci sequence of the numbers there. So I'm going to use quite a few on my default charts. There's some charts that I have a pretty large skew of things going forth. So we're just going to add a couple of these on here. There we go. There we go. Bada bing, bada bang. So once those are added, you have to go into these individually, and you can change the color. You can change what kind of drawing is it? Is it a line? Is it a dash? Is it a triangle? Blah, blah, blah. How thick is it? All kinds of things. What color is it? And so forth as well. Up or down. The thing I always kind of keep it the same. I always keep it very consistent with the close. I always look at the close, because since the exponential moving averages uses a somewhat of a different weight than just a basic moving average, it kind of has a higher weight on that has previously happened, rather than just using a straight 50-day or 200 EMA, which I do use on the charts, which I actually do a 50 SMA just because of the things that I've been taught. So my favorite line without rhyme or reason is the yellow line, which again is the 21 EMA. I like to make that super thick to kind of stand out on my charts. So you can do here, when we hit apply, you can kind of see that really come out with that really white yellow line there. And of course, I can kind of move it around to kind of keep things somewhat organized there. So then we're going to be going into the lowest moving average that I use is actually the 5. And then I usually have that as like a whitish gray, and then I can do okay on that. The next one I use is actually the 8 EMA. So we can do that as well, add that. So that really kind of, you can start seeing things, how they're adding up from these points. And then of course, I love my 34 EMA as well, going down here. I usually use that as an orange. Did I change the color for that? I didn't change the color for this one. So double click on that. I want to change this to like a pinkish. And you start seeing the things kind of playing out here, and how, again, you don't need all these moving averages on here. Like, honestly, the 5 is a little bit distracting at times for me. So we hit apply, we kind of see things kind of really coming out with these moving averages. And even though with the orange line, again, I kind of use that little bit more of a dash tone to kind of, again, not clutter up the charts, really show that as a distinctive point, because with my charting and so forth, the 21 to 34 EMA are usually a buy or sell zone, depending on what kind of chart you're looking at. So for example, if we're looking at Zoom right now, it has really had a lot of issues once it hits that 21 EMA. So if this does have somewhat of a the motive or the overall oomph to potentially hit that 21 EMA, we have to be super mindful of like, hey, we need to see this really potentially come up to at least $383 for a potential even short. So that's, you can start seeing things kind of coming to fruition there. The next one I use is going to be the 55, but we don't have to put it on this one. It's actually the 144, and I also do that as a dashed line, and I do that like in like a greenish tone. And then last but not least is really the 200 EMA. If I can write. What the hell? There's a lot of clicking involved here, and it's not letting me click on this. Sorry, folks. 200. There we go. And I use that as that line, and I'm going to do that one as a dash as well. So start seeing my charts come to life here. Again, this is just going to be the basic upward stuff that we're seeing on here. We're going to look at for the parabolic SAR dots. Those are actually going to be pretty basic as well. I'm going to keep those as like a purple. So you can go to more colors here and change it to any color that your heart desires, really, and play around with that here. So parabolic SAR dots is kind of helping me with the trend as well. And I keep mine completely at default. So 0.02 to 0.2 for the factors of that. And they will show that with the studies and dots on there. So the reason why I like to use the dots, it kind of helps with the potential parabolicness of moving a stock up or down. So you kind of see here on the chart with Zoom again that the parabolic SAR dots have come into play. It has broken out maybe once or 2 days, but then it gives it right back. So looking for this potentially to try to come up here to 383 to 400 potentially, and maybe get a failure of the parabolic SAR dots again, and then coming back down. So that's, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how the stock's going to trade, but this is something to kind of keep an eye on how I look at the charts and what studies I use and the reason behind it. So this is basically the upper half of how I do things. The next one, which I think a lot of people always talk about, is the TTM squeeze. Again, that is something that I learned from John Carter. Fantastic individual, great trader, fantastic individual. I said that twice. All around good guy. I like him a lot, and I have had to thank him a lot for all the things that I've learned from him. So fantastic, and kudos and peace to you, my friend. Thank you very much. With that being said, that's going to be in the lower part of the half. You can kind of see that already coming out. I keep this at pretty much the default. There are other settings that people play with, and I really don't want to be touching that. So the next level is I'm just going to be looking at the basic RSI here. So we hit apply here. This is the RSI. So this is basically the relative strength index. So what this does, it gives a parameter if something is overbought or oversold. So for example, you see at Zoom here multiple times that it was overbought in the summertime, sometimes in September, because again, it was pretty much a pandemic play of like, hey, no one can do meetings, no one can travel, no one can do anything. So the stock would run up pretty aggressively and be overbought. The default setting on the overbought and oversold is 70-30. I actually change those. I go 80-20. So the reason why I do that, it just, again, takes out a little bit of noise and cleans up the chart. So once I update this, you'll see on how much better it looks. So really looking at this again, we saw a huge overbought here on that earnings with a Zoom here, really shooting from a very extended prices that we saw around basically 300 and it shot all the way up to nearly $500. And of course, RSI on top of other things that we're going to be looking at, it was pretty far away from the 21 EMA, signaling overbought, meaning that doesn't mean it's just go straight out and short things and just say F you and just short it out of spite. But there are other indicators they're going to be looking at to really make that assumption, if it had any staying power up there, which again, it came down to the 8 EMA and just kind of held that trend for quite some time until we had somewhat of a, the vaccine news kind of coming out, and the kind of has been somewhat of a downward move for Zoom. So that's going to be the second thing. And then the last thing is going to be coming out to the volume zone. Oh, there it is. Volume zone oscillator. So this is one, I like to use this one. Again, this is kind of helps me, keeps things in check. Of course, I'm sorry, I just kind of slid and consolidated things down here. With that being said, you can move these sliders all the way up, all the way down kind of things. I kind of keep them somewhat squished and really looking at these parameters over here. Again, the volume zone oscillator, I kind of keep very much basic here. This one kind of helps me tell where the volume is coming into. So the number I'm really looking at is if it's positive. So the thing with the volume zone oscillator, let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see this. It has these default settings on here. So it has, let me just go back to edit studies. Again, you hit the little edit studies here. The volume zone oscillator here, I keep it at a 14. Sometimes I keep it on a 21. I've been playing around which one I like better. I like to keep things kind of like symmetry across the board. So if I'm using the 21 a day for a lot of things, I want to kind of keep that in the same parameters across the board. With that being said, we're going to be just using the 21 kind of here as well. So this being said, what does the volume zone oscillator do? That basically kind of tells you on what the potential momentum and the zone of the move that we could see. So best example that we can look at here, again, looking at strictly Zoom, going to a little larger time frame here, you can see here normally with a huge spike in volume, it hits a key level. It kind of works similar because it works well with the RSI here, and looking at this potentially to show an overbought. So this would be at the same time. I'm like, well, this, like, if someone says, hey, Ken, if they came out on basically August, the end of August, saying, hey, Ken, should I buy Zoom? It just had a fantastic earnings. I would be like, I would hold the horses here and just kind of maybe wait for somewhat of a pullback, maybe potentially to the 21 or the other moving averages that we looked at. Of course, the 8 EMA kind of came into fruition there. With that being said, you saw the volume zone really come back down, but it did not break through the into negative territory. So what that was telling you was that, hey, this has a cushion here and the trend could still be higher here. What else can we look at to help us to identify that? You see the RSI didn't come crashing down. It didn't go all the way down to 20 or all the way up from the bottom. We did see some of a rebound here in the Zoom, but at the same time, the RSI didn't come crashing down and the volumes on oscillator kind of leveled off here in kind of a hibernation mode. This thing really could be extended. So this is on its very top level of green. That's basically kind of signaling that it's going to pull back, consolidate, of just like, hey, this could be a danger zone, not a danger zone as like there's a chemical spill here, you need to leave, but more or less to kind of indicate there's a scenario where this could potentially just trade sideways. There's a lot of folks watching this. All these kind of things could be playing out from that scenario. So this sounds pretty basic here. Again, I think I said basic maybe 13 times, maybe 15, maybe 21. Hey. So that being said, this was basically a quick, I did it on purpose, I'm sorry, I promise. This was just a very simplistic overview of the charts, how I use them, the reason why I use them, and kind of help me understand the trend, other kind of factors. This is just one of maybe 4 core charts that I use. This is the one that I look at least 65 to 70% of the time if I'm just scanning through scans. But that's something that if you're interested in looking at some other charts that I share and look at, I more gladly would do that. I hope this was educational for you and you actually learned something. But if you have any comments or questions, please join the Discord. We have a link down in the description below, and come by, ask questions, ping me directly. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button on the way out the door, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.